Okay, well, I believe we are on air. My name is Mag Vladimirski, and welcome to the London International Animation Festival. And I've got a motley bunch of people here with me, calling in from all over the world. We've just had the Late Night Bazaar screening, and 4 of the wonderful filmmakers are here. We've got
what the hell?
Peter Millard, whose film was Come, 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 Everybody. Bryan Lee, whose film was Cage Match. Ivan Lee, whose film was Fruit. Ivan is the, there's Ivan. And Julian Gallese, whose film was Thank You. So I'm just going to start with a brief description, if I can, how of your 4 films, if that's possible. Then I'm going to just ask you a few questions. Peter, shut up until you've spoken. All right, Cage Match, first of all. So that was a biro-drawn film. It's about a Japanese businessman who's very stressed out. He gets involved in a wrestling match with many wrestlers, including some chicken wrestlers. It's all presided over by a Japanese game show host. And then there's also Mr. Iron Butterfly involved. Peter's film, Come, 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 Everybody. So I think you can describe it fairly simply as a large group sex male orgy. I think that's fair to say. Pretty graphic and pretty vocal film. And Thank You, Julian's film. That's a story about a birthday party for a character called Toledo. There's a talking duck who smokes cigarettes, who's been invited to the party. And there's another character in a bar who's called Sunny, who hasn't been invited. Sunny asks Toledo to get her some hot chocolate. He goes to a diner called Egglicious, where he eats egg and toast, but the eggs and toast are sort of human, not human-like, certainly in the sense that they've got eyes. There's some flying arrows and a doctor. It's just like quite a large ensemble cast of characters. And then Ivan's film, Fruit. Well, what to say?
Yeah. You're on your own, Nick.
I suppose there's a similarity to Peter's film in the sense that there's certainly an orgy going on, although Ivan's film does involve a large amount of fruit, and it all seems to be filmed by Quentin Tarantino and is being watched over by Samuel L. Jackson as well. So I'm going to have to ask you all one at a time to just talk about the conception of your films and where the hell did those ideas come from. So let's start with Bryan, seeing as you're on my left top hand corner.
Also, Bryan has the best background.
Yeah, tell us about your film, where it came from.
Man, that's a great question. It came from inside when, it's just one of those days where you're riding an elevator and you start to think about everything that's going on in life, and just that feeling of needing to explode out of everything, I guess. And from there came Cage Match.
Okay. So was that character always around? Did you always know you wanted to make a film with Cage Man in it?
I mean, I think that I don't know. I for me, the film was more of really just chasing this sort of feeling, this feeling of emotions and pressure being bottled up on the inside. And I guess the manifestation was Mr. Businessman. But I feel like in a sense, like, we all have a little bit of Mr. Businessman inside of us, wherever we are. And all of us at one point in our lives would love to tear our clothes off and run around punching everything. And that's kind of just the train of thought that my film kind of took.
Yeah, the screaming rant that's part of it, though, that's part and parcel of it. Was that written in English? Was it written in Japanese? How did the translation between the two go? Like that must have been an adventure all by itself, surely.
Yeah. Kind of funny story there. That was all done in one night.
Whoa.
Because it was actually, I had to turn it in because this was my school assignment.
Right.
And I sat down with my friend who was the voice actor, and I said, we got to finish this tonight. And I wrote it all in English in a stream of consciousness, and he had to translate it on the spot into Japanese for me. And so, I mean, he did a lot of the heavy lifting there, and Google Translate also did some heavy lifting there. But yeah, we figured it out.
But stuff like flesh on flesh, meteor bonanza or something was one for, like, you know, is that an English phrase translated into Japanese, or is that something that came from Japanese into the English and then just got
that was, it was all English to Japanese and whatnot. And to be quite frank, I'm not sure how accurate some of the Japanese parts are. I have to ask my friend, but but we did our best.
Okay. Is that why you left some English words in? Like, there's English words that kind of pop up, albeit with the Japanese rant accent, but there's lots of kind of English sounding words in there.
Yeah. That was part of it. And I don't know, for me, the subtitle, I don't know, I just like reading subtitles. So I felt like putting that in the film was just something I really wanted. Yeah.
It's been screened in Japan, hasn't it? Your film.
It has.
What reaction did it get over there?
To be quite honest, I'm not too sure. I'm a little nervous because I'm not a Japanese person making a Japanese film, but at the same time, I felt like, the film is not necessarily meant just for Japanese people. Like, it's something that for me felt like it carries across to all sorts of people across the world and whatnot. And I'm sorry, I don't know if that answered your question, but
that's all right.
Mr. Frog lays an egg. I just wanted one last. Mr. Frog lays an egg. Like, that arrival is one of the best segues of any film that I've seen for quite some time. And I just congratulate you on one of the most imaginative segues in a short animated film for 2020.
Thank you.
Peter, do you want to tell us a bit about your film? You can turn your microphone on, Peter.
Yes.
Here we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, hello. So the film was created when I was living in Montreal, in Canada.
Yeah.
And I had a studio opposite a sex cinema. And it was a very strange sex cinema in that it was this bar. It's very like rundown kind of local bar. And then it had this weird like adult cinema kind of corridor next to it. But it also had a back entrance to the cinema, which I always walked past when I went to my studio. And I always saw guys go in there and they'd wear these outrageous like costumes almost to disguise their identities to go in there. So they'd wear sunglasses in the middle of winter with like a hood up and all this stuff. And I just thought, like, it just seems crazy. Like, this is like a taboo almost. It's like, well, if I was that age and I was horny and single, I'd probably want to just hang out and watch porn with a bunch of other people and then just help each other out. And the thing was, it became this thing where I asked other people in Montreal about it, and I asked people in the UK about it. Like, what would you think? What, like, would you ever do that? And I got a lot of like very homophobic responses about it, actually, which I felt was kind of outrageous, actually. And it was just like, why is it this massive taboo that you want to do that? So I decided to make a film where, you know what, it's do what you want, and if it feels good, just do it. And that's what the whole film's kind of, the premise is all about.
What sort of reaction have you had to it when it's screened at other festivals?
But the thing is, Nag, it's the problem is it's always been online, hasn't it? So so
I presume it's screened at other festivals.
Yeah, but
remember in the ECE's thing, they screened it live.
Yeah. So I did actually. So I screened like an early version of the film. So Julian, what he's talking about is we screened it, a very early version of the film in Peckham in London. Sophie Gate was doing these short film nights in Peckham.
Yeah. And
she asked me to do a talk and then show like a work in progress sort of thing. So I was like, look, I'm working on this. I'll show it. And yeah, and the reaction was really great. And, you know, that's, but the thing is, it's the same thing with a lot of these short film festivals. That's a lot of the people that go to these things are the people that are going to agree with your kind of points of view.
Yeah.
The thing with this film, what I find interesting is I'd post it on Facebook, let's say, and I have a lot of family relations, you know, uncles, aunties that, you know, they know what I do, but they're not really like into what I'm doing. They just know like, oh, we got this relative Pete that does these kind of weird short films, and they're like they're just not into it, and I just find that kind of, I was going to say funny then, but I don't find it funny. The thing is, I find it's kind of distressing in a way that it's still not acceptable. A lot of like things like that I think should be just kind of just do what you like. And if we're realistic in the real world, if we're not talking outside of this world that we're all in, it's not. So yeah, it is a silly film. It's you know, it's a bit of a laugh, but you know, it's also like, you know, it's ridiculous that this is a taboo almost, in my mind anyway.
For sure.
The soundtrack, I'm just going to cut to the chase, Peter. The soundtrack, I presume, was a homemade project, if I can put it in those terms.
So Malcolm,
yes,
I
Peter
made the soundtrack. It was just me making the cum noises, and I'd literally wank all night, and then I'd record myself coming, and then I tried to make a soundtrack with just that, and it was horrendous. It was rubbish. It didn't work with the film, and in the end, what I was thinking is like, and for me, it's quite strange because I usually just make films that are just, you know, I'm making it, I'm making the sound, that's just me. But with this film, it was a bit different. It was like, no, I'm trying to talk about someone else. So I actually downloaded a load of cum compilations. I'm not sure if anyone's aware of cum compilations. They're on Pornhub if you want to check them out. And it's just men coming on people. And I basically just took out the sound bits when the men were actually coming, and then I downloaded them and then put them all together, and then that created the soundscape for the whole project in the end.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you for taking a bullet for the crew. Like, you've done all that work so that we don't have to. Immensely grateful to you. You must be on some sort of weird blacklist by now, man.
It was very weird. It was weird, like watching porn and being like, "That's a really good cum noise.
Yeah,
that's. I want that."
Yeah. You're sitting there with a clipboard going, "It's a 4 out of 5.
Yeah,
oh, there's an 8.5 out of 9." It's like, oh, an extra point
noise. There's a
the
particular noise at the end when some guy gets very overexcited. He's like, "Ah!" And I was like, right, I need that in the film. And it's very weird watching it and then being like, right, that's the perfect noise for the film. So it's cutting that out. And does make you think about actually porn as an industry. It's really messed up, actually.
It's a huge industry, though. Huge industry.
It's a massive industry.
Massive industry.
But yeah, so many other things came from that film that I feel I don't answer in my film particularly, but you know, it could be in future films that I do.
And this is the start of a new direction for you, is it?
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Nick. You know what? I entered that porn world, and I'm quite happy not entering it again. To be honest, it's quite a sad, weird world that. No, weird's not the right word. It's just like a world I don't really want to delve in that respect. Anyway,
sure. Okay,
my work here is done.
Okay, Julian, let's move on to you. Can you tell us a bit about your film, how you came to make that?
Oh, that film I made in the
You're quite. Are you a long way from your mic? Because you're quiet.
No, sorry. Can you hear me now?
That's better.
That's better. Yeah.
Yeah, that film I made it was my graduation film from the RCA here in London.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just I felt like I was doing the same thing over and over with my previous films. And with this film, basically what I wanted to do was to make like a very normal film. I wanted to write a script and take this very traditional approach to write a script, have voice actors, have like a beginning, middle, and end, and so on. And I knew the result would be quite weird anyway, because I don't know how to do any of those things, I guess. And yeah, it was basically me trying to steer away from experimenting and just do a normal movie, basically. Yeah.
So that is what you class as a normal movie.
Yeah, traditional approach, you know.
It's interesting you'd say beginning, middle, and an end. It has an end, but it struck me that the end was. There's a literal end. The film finishes, but it struck me that there was lots of things left unexplored in that. Like there was a lot of potential for people to go on, kind of creating some sort of narrative in their own minds or in their imaginations. I mean, do you see it as having a specific end? Is all the loose ends being tied up, or are you?
I just see that hopefully it was like a steer in a new direction, and also like a more narrative direction, and also, yeah, I don't know. Sorry, what's the question?
Well, the question is about the end, and from my perspective, I didn't, and lots of films are like this, but it was interesting to hear you say that you wanted to make a film with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and the end seemed really undefined in a really kind of luxurious way, but it didn't seem like a defined end to me, which I.
Yeah, I did think a lot about it, and most of it, I mean, I had like, how many months? Like 5 or so, 6 months to make that film in total, and most of the time I spent it writing the script. and it was kind of messy because I've never done that before, and I still don't know how to do it. But the ending was, I kind of wanted to leave it a bit like open-ended, for it to be like it was, what's the thing? I haven't seen it in such a long time, and I haven't got a good perspective on it. Right. But I think what happens is like his birthday, his very anticipated birthday party ends up being like a funeral, or I just wanted to, so for me, to me that was like a good wrapping up. I had a few other endings in mind, but like him dying and for it being like a funeral, very anticlimactic, and they throw the birthday cake and hurl the cake into the water, and
okay,
that it was like a anticlimactic ending, sort of.
Well, I think it's one of those great endings that allows people to kind of almost add on their own meanings or think about their own, what it all might have meant as well.
Yeah,
that's what I like about those sorts of endings. So.
You have an existential
ending,
I hope.
You have quite a lot of similar characters, or characters that have been in all your films, like the eggs and the toast, for instance. What is it? What is there anything specific about those characters that do you just like drawing them, or is there anything a bit more to it than that they just do turn up? They've been there from your earliest films right through to this latest one.
Yeah, some of them are reoccurring characters or actors, right? I just like drawing them, to be honest, and they're like everyday things, and I kind of like to copy the this cartoon pop culture style that we see on TV and stuff, and just kind of trying to make it. Peter's messaging me on a private private chat. They're like everyday characters and objects that we see, and I kind of like take them from these very widely known language like TV cartoons, and trying to put them into my own strange narratives, I guess. Yeah.
How much of an influence is because you're from Costa Rica, has Costa Rica had much of an influence on what you draw in your films?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're kind of set there in a way. My films are always like, at least the most recent ones are set in like a tropical town, and it's kind of where I grew up, And the kind of the place where you make your film, or where you're not, it kind of ends up being in your. It always makes its way into your work, the place where you are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Ivan, tell us about the conception of your film. How did that come about? How did you get the idea for that?
This is the best fruit beverage I've ever had, and I believe the name itself deserves its own movie and spin-off. So that's how the movie was made.
Can't argue with that.
It's a long way from that bottle of juice to your film, though, Ivan. It is a long way.
There's a long way.
It is a long way. Where did you start? What was the first step? I'm trying to say something before Millard jumps in, because if somebody looks like they're up to no good, it's him. But like, what was the first step? What was the first thing that you did in the process of making this film?
Well, originally I have a day job in the visual effect industry, which I've been, what they call it, the pixel fucked, where you are encountering so many different kind of technical constraints at work. You're constantly receiving notes from the higher ups, and ultimately you're just working on a movie that was being made fun of by almost the general public. And in my case, it was a masterpiece called Cats, and I would very much like to transcend the experience and energy I've learned from that movie to my own movie. So I decided to set up and create this advertisement.
It strikes me that it's an even bigger step from Cats to your film than it is from a bottle of naked juice to your film. I still just, I mean, to me, I mean, this is true of any animated film, and it's particularly true of all of the films of all the filmmakers here. But and I say it to my students, like the first act in making an animated film is an act of imagination rather than engineering. I'm still chasing. It's like, you know, lots of people make ads for various products, and some of them are pretty crazy. But I mean, if somebody went, you know, if I put a bottle of naked fruit juice on my lecture thing at university and said to my students, make an ad for this product, they'd come up with 160 different ads for naked fruit juice, and I'm pretty confident none of them would look anything like yours. I mean, I'm still chasing, like, what made you go from naked fruit juice to like a massive fruit porn rodeo that this film really is?
I see.
The energy, I suppose, like where does the energy come from?
The energy comes from, you know, like when you look into the bottle, when you admire how beautiful it sounds when you shake it.
Right.
And at the same time, halfway through production, it was originally much more mild than I expected it to be, but halfway through production, it's pretty much the pandemic hits, and you start hearing news about how cinema won't be the same afterwards, and a lot of festivals are having conversations about, a lot of screening venues in general having conversations about whether we are switching our screening system to a virtual platform instead of having the traditional theatrical experience. And my original goal is so I decided to fully embrace the beauty of counter theatrical experience. I wanted to do something that was completely unwatchable and that wouldn't be shown in a cinematic setting, something that you kind of recognize in a way. In going back to what Peter said, I think porn is a great way to.
Yeah, I mean, you've certainly, you've certainly created. I mean, that whole thing about the disruption that COVID has done for cinema and all the rest of it. In that same way, I think you've probably disrupted my ability to go out and buy fruit and vegetables, at least for quite some time. Like I bananas and even corn cobs, like I can kind of see how that, but I am not going to be able to pick up a red cabbage for quite some time, man. And it's just, again, like how much, what's the process for like, what was your process? Did you just bring up like every fruit and piece of vegetable you could think of and go, that would fit there, or like this one might fit into this one, or like we can tweak that, like, you know, how did you turn these real life things into the carousel of imagery that we've been treated to in your film?
I think I just let my fantasy take over whatever is going to happen. So that's pretty much it.
What reaction has it had when has it actually played live in a cinema?
I think it did once. So a while ago, it was shown in a slash film festival in Austria, Vienna. So I think just September, like early on in September, they had a screening. That was the only screening, but I haven't heard back from anyone.
Right.
And when did the banana costume arrive in your imagination?
Is that a full body costume or just a?
I'm pretty sure that's just Ivan's body, man.
Can you show us the whole thing?
That's just how he lives. Leave him alone. Leave him alone.
And I'm not wearing anything inside. Yeah.
Free the banana. That's it, Nag. I did my best, man. I did my best. Over to you.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I've got a bit of a general question for everyone. What advice would you give to any young aspiring animators who are just starting out? If you could give just like one piece of advice, what would it be? Peter, I'm going to start with you, seeing as you're the font of all wisdom. Do you have any advice for anyone that wants to start up in animation?
So,
Holy hell, man. All week we've been doing these Q&As. That's the first time you've decided to ask the question. You asked this group?
Yeah. I want to know what they come up with. Come on,
No.
give it your best shot.
So actually, believe it or not, I'm a teacher at a university. So
Someone employs you?
yes, Kingston School of Art.
Yes, I know it well.
What I'd advise them is just be yourself. No, you know what? No, that is true though. It depends what direction. Like the thing with animation is you can go through so many different paths. Like you go down the commercial route, you go down the studio route, you could go down even doing exhibitions and doing installations and all that. You go down the experimental route. There's so many different ways. And I think it's just trying to work out which way you want to go down. And with short films, I think the main thing is just to remember that you're not going to make millions of pounds making short films. But if it's something that you really love doing, I always encourage you to do it. And that's something, it's just, if you really love doing what you're doing, just keep doing it.
Yeah. It's good advice.
Surprisingly good advice.
Ryan, have you got any advice that you'd give to an aspiring animator?
Oh, I would say figure out what tastes good to you. You know, like you eat. I visualize it like when we consume media, it's like we're ingesting things, and it's like we ingest a lot on a regular basis, and like over the course you eat things that are pretty good and you eat things that are not so good, and sometimes you eat things that are like that's it. And I feel like over time, like I feel like what I make is pretty much just like a mixture of like all the things that I really enjoy. And so I feel like if you have like a good grasp of what you like your taste, I feel like that'll like inevitably just blossom into what you do, and it'll be awesome.
Good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Julian, what about you? What would you advise?
Yeah, it's a similar thing to what they said. I guess it's just find out what you like, basically, and yeah, just trust your guts, so to say. Like, because I just finished RCA. I've done films before, but I just finished RCA, and that friction with like tutors or peers or teachers where they want to make it clear, like, what do you want the audience to get from this? What do you want to understand? Like, sometimes you don't know what you want people to get from it, or what the story is, and that's fine. I think that, most of the cases, it's even better, I think. And yeah, just kind of believe in what you want to do. And cause then, especially if you're in school, aspiring animators and stuff, because then you get a lot of people like putting their, in Spanish we have this saying like where you put your spoon into the same plate, and everyone puts their own spoon, and it ends up being a whole mess, and you gotta have kind of like use that friction with the tutors and peers to your advantage, and just kind of try to thrive in what you want to make.
Because you've had quite an interesting route to animation. I mean, you started off, you made films in Costa Rica, didn't you? And then you came over to the UK to study at the RCA. But have you also studied in Canada? Is that right?
I did a 1-year course in Canada, yeah, in Vancouver Film School, and it was like a very technical thing, and there was a lot of friction there with the tutors because it was like a very traditional, learn how to animate the traditional way with paper and peg bars and everything. It was all year round. It was with paper and stuff, and I learned a lot there. But all that friction with the tutors, like not understanding what I wanted to do when I didn't even understand myself what I want to do. That helped me a lot. It made me more convicted in what I thought was good or what I wanted to make, you know, just like, because then people tell, oh, this is not clear. This is what do you want? What's the message to the audience? Will the audience get this? Will the audience get that? And I kind of always ignored that, you know. I don't know if that's good advice or not. Yeah. Okay. Not ignored it, but like kind of have
made things your own way.
Stubborn in a way. Yeah.
Fine. And Ivan, what advice would you give to a new animator, someone just starting out?
I think what others said is pretty much summarized what I intended to say. Basically, animation is such a diverse spectrum. There's like so many different directions that you can go. And for example, in Vancouver, it's mostly the technical leaning because you have, you know, most of the connections are related to, you know, visual effects, or you're working as a production, you know, in a production office for, you know, a more mainstream show. But the beauty of independent cinema is basically you can just, you know, sit there and just jumpstart on working on what you wanted to work on. And there isn't much of a constraint because, I mean, most of the tech side have, like, in the last couple of years have been so advanced that you can basically, you know, use open source technology in terms of making 3D animation, something that was considered as advanced or require a lot of resources, but now you can actually just do it for free at your, you know, desktop or a laptop. So yeah, and occasionally you hear a lot of constructive criticism coming from different direction. Just learn how to filterize it, and yeah, if you believe in a story, if you have this urgency of telling a story, just let it out.
Mm-hmm. So are you working on more commercial projects as well as making your own films? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, I try to balance out both genre because I feel like I can take something I've learned from my work and replace it with something more, you know, phallic. In my case, yeah.
Mission accomplished, my friend. Mission accomplished.
Malcolm, have you got any questions?
Oh, not really. I'm conscious of time. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we
much
do
time
have to wrap it up soon.
I mean, the obvious kind of ending question really is the one you often ask, Nags. Like, what are you working on next? Like, what's?
Yeah, I do want to just.
I almost hate to ask these guys, but
yeah,
but we may as well give it a try. Like, they're arranged a little bit differently on my screen. Brian's on my left, so maybe.
Yeah, go on, Brian. What are you working on now then?
That's a great question. I mean, I'm working on a little bit of everything. I feel like working to find some love in life, and I'm also working to make some love in animation on the screen. I'm planning on making a film, but it's taking a while because I just feel like everything goes so slowly in the quarantine, you know, not necessarily because it has to, but just being at home all day, it really just has a way of sapping things. But yeah, I'm making another film and doing some commercial work at the same time too, maybe like Ivan. And hopefully I have it done by like the following year.
Great.
So did you find that, like, having worked, making your film, which was made at your film school, having to make it to a deadline sort of pushed you into finishing it, and now you've left film school, it's a bit harder to motivate yourself?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It definitely is different with the there's something that's helpful with like a deadline.
Yeah.
It just like provides that extra fire in your behind. But the nice thing about what I'm doing right now is that like I guess like I have all the time in the world to like kind of just finesse and make it the best thing possibly can.
Good luck going forward, man. Good luck with that. So
Peter.
So Peter, do we have to ask Peter? But he is next on my screen, so I suppose.
Go on. What are you working on right now?
Here we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, man.
Loud and clear, Peter.
Great. So I'm currently just making. So I made a load of little sculptures that I've been making for ages. I don't know. I just decided maybe I have a break from doing that. You know, I've been doing that for ages. So I just started making a load of these animations, these tiny little ideas that maybe aren't the ideas for like I hate the idea, like I hate the thought of like a serious short film. But you know, like just little ideas I had that I think would be quite funny short films. So I'm just kind of just getting them all out now, and this very quick process of like, right, that's the idea, bang, 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 out sort of films that I'm doing at the moment, because I just spent ages making this new short film that took me like 8 months to make. Is quite an intense process of painting and drawing it. So yeah, so I'm just banging out all these short films, and yeah, so that's what I'm doing at the moment, and yeah, having a really good time doing it, to be honest. Yeah, see what the thing is, it's same with anytime you make short animated films, it's like, what am I doing with it? It's like I'm making it and I'm just putting it online. I don't know. It's a whole other. It's a deeper subject that we probably can't go into on this Q&A. But it's like I don't really know what to do with them. So I just put them online. But you know, I'm kind of striving for somewhere else they could be, but I don't know where that would be. So
yeah, what's the story of the sculptures, man? Like, what are they of, and what do they? Are they? Is it just something you worked on because you wanted to do it, or is there a greater purpose? Or
so I was making the short film. Well, actually, so is this whole art project that I thought of is going to be this performance with sculptures and animation. So I did these animations where it's not really a story going on. It's kind of a lot of morphing, colorful things going around, that I've kind of just made into a short film. But they were actually originally made to be many short animations that would be in a gallery space, but right, because of COVID, it's the galleries that were interested in doing this have now obviously backed off, and so that can't happen. And so I was making all these sculptures for the gallery space as well, which I just continued doing anyway. So I've made a lot of these sculptures that, when I get the clay, I kind of make it as impulsive as I can and try and make a character out of it in kind of a few seconds. It's like, bam, 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 bam. And then put some eyes on, put a nose on, put a mouth on.
Yep.
So I was trying to make 100 of those, but I've made 83, I think, of them.
Wow. Okay.
I'd like to get to 100 or so of those. But with the gallery space, I also wanted it to be this live performance where we made costumes based on the animation and the sculptures. so there'd be people doing these live performances whilst also in the gallery space, you know, moving around, doing silly things, basically. But obviously you can't do that now. So it's also a spanner in the works with the whole thing I was trying to think of. I'd also created a whole sound piece for the whole gallery. So yeah, so Malcolm, basically it's a culmination of a lot of things this whole project is. But you know, in the times that we're living in, it's kind of gone to, I just don't know what to do with it now. So it's all done. That's the thing. It's all done. It's all out there. Like, I can send it to people. I can do it for people, but I can't do it to the vision what I want it to be, which is a massive shame. But
these times will pass, man. These times will pass. There's better days ahead.
Yeah, I hope so.
There's better days ahead.
I really hope so, and I really hope there's a gallery, hopefully in London, that will take a chance on it again. And when I say with, so I don't know when things will go back to normal. That's the thing, and maybe it'll become a reality soon, or it'll be one of those things when I retire and it's a project I reappear to. I don't know, but no, it's I've had a really great time making all of these different perspectives of the project. You know, going from sculpture, from performance to sound piece to animation, but see what happens with it all in the end. But to us, I'm really happy as well, just doing these little animations I'm doing that are just taking me a week to think of. I'm just blasting them out. And but it is that thing, it's like, what's my audience? And I don't know what my audience is. I'm just putting it out on the internet, and I just don't know. It's, you know, it's just the internet. So
yeah, well, an audience will form around it. An audience will form around. I guarantee it. That's already happening. That's already happening. You know, with your other work too. So
yeah,
that's awesome. I might drop you a line about that sculpture stuff. Actually, I'm kind of interested in that in a separate thing. But
yeah. Well, that's the thing. So we'll see what happens with it all. But no, the main thing is, I've always said, it's, as long as you're having fun making what you're doing, then that's all what matters in the end. So and I'm having a really good time. So
at the very least, it's a really good start. Good one, man. Like, keep the faith. So exactly. The next person on my screen anyway is Julian. So it's the same question, Julian. What's coming up, man?
Hey, I've been, I don't know, the festival, the lack of festivals has been pretty kind of a downer this year, and it's been making me question, like, who's it for and why am I doing this and so on, like everyone else, I guess. And I found myself watching a bunch of animations, and I really like them. Like, these people, they get like 30 million views and so on, like grabbing like a Shrek character and characters from films from Jimmy Neutron and stuff, and just making these really wacky things. And we never see these things in festivals, and it's made me, I don't know, those sort of, I mean, the point is, like, those animations have made me try to learn 3D animation, and that's what I've been doing lately. I've been learning 3D and just making some 3D animations. I'm finishing a music video this weekend, like a 3D program, and because I felt kind of sick of the whole from the ending of RCA was like a bad ending with I didn't feel very good with my film, and we didn't get much chance to get feedback and so on. And I just wanted just want to keep trying out new things. I felt pretty stale, and I've been doing 3D animation and.
Well, you have an imagination that's perfectly structured for animation. So I'm going to be really, really interested to see, you know, how you apply that to 3D when you teach, because 3Ding on one level is just skills, but it's, you know, what elevates any animation, but particularly 3D animation, is the application of a particular kind of imagination. And you have one of those imaginations. So you just, you know, it's God-given in a certain sense. I'll be really, really interested to see, like, once you get on top of some of the 3Ding skills, if that's where you're headed, man, I'll be really interested to see what you make of that space and make of the possibilities of 3Ding. So good luck with that. Like, I hope it's, you know, I hope it's kind of a nourishing experience to go through, rather than, yeah, somebody that teaches in schools from time to time. It's like, I know that the teacher-student relationship doesn't always turn out super well, you know, if I can put it in those terms. So,
no, it's been kind of refreshing, weirdly, doing 3D games.
Yeah.
It's like
I know. I'm really encouraged to hear that somebody like you is taking on 3D. So I'm going to be really, really interested in seeing what you come up with, man. Really.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying it, and that's what I'm heading to for now, I guess. And
okay.
Yeah, there's some
Cool.
stuff going on back home in Costa Rica. I think I'm gonna have a little show with the 3D videos that I've been doing in there.
Okay, great. Oh, well, good luck with that, man. Keep peeling. I hope something got it really wonderful erupts out of it. And Ivan, I can't imagine what could possibly be next after Fruit, to be honest, but there's always a tomorrow, so I'm very interested to hear what you're planning next.
We are trying to get a brand deal from PepsiCo, or Naked in this case. I hope they can sponsor me in the future with this film. And I'm trying also to explore, like, it's certainly a very sad time for cinema as well, because, I mean, this just in this morning, but Ottawa International Animation Festival, the Bytown Cinema, just announced that they will permanently close after this year, like December 31st. And it's a sad thing for festival world. So while I also wanted to explore the flexibility and, like, what is the malleability of cinema in a different platform, it's certainly, I would very much to get back into something more theatrical as well. You know, like, who doesn't like to see Fruit on big screen, right?
Yeah, especially the way you do it, man.
Yeah.
Especially the way you do it. So
yeah.
So I sincerely wish you well in a pitch to Pepsi Cola. I think it would be possibly a fundraising effort if you could sell tickets for us to be able to just sit in and watch you kind of roll into Pepsi and pitch them with that idea. But I definitely look forward to seeing what you can make of their particular product range. So fantastic, man. I love your energy, and I love your ideas, and I love how bold you are about coming out in character for us.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So we do actually have to wrap it up now. So again, massive thank you to Brian, Peter, Julian, and Ivan, and Malcolm, my co-director. Thank you all for being here with us tonight, and we will be back tomorrow night with the music video panel. Peter unfortunately won't be with us, but never mind. Okay, thanks again to everyone, and see you all soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.